Hi, I'm here today with Andrew Holland, who's head of organic at Embryo Digital. You've probably seen Andrew on LinkedIn where he talks about SEO strategy and success and how he made the change from being a police officer to a leader in SEO. So hi, Andrew, how are you?
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me.
There's a lot of debate at the moment around the significance of SEO in B2B in particular. And from my experience, I found it's one of the channels that always seems to be lacking. So when you're approaching a new client in the B2B space, how do you appraise their current SEO strategy and content?
That's a tough question. That is a very tough question. Okay, I mean, I think the thing with B2B SEO, and if we split B2C and B2B SEO, it's all humans, and that's probably something that we always miss out on. And we've got this really, and I think it stems from the use of so many tools. We've got a very robotic view of how the world works and how the internet works, and we try to compartmentalize it into sections, and it just doesn't work like that, because here we are at home or at work, and you drop into a thread, and then you disappear off somewhere else, and before you've known it, you've probably made about 30 searches that you can't mentally collect or can't mentally recognize, and only if you were to review your search history would you have a clue. And to be honest with you, it's actually one of the best tips I can give anybody, is to say, go and have a look at your own search history for a day and see exactly how many sites you visited, and then try and figure that out, and try and figure out even your own purchase journey sometimes can be an interesting tactic. But the real difference, I think, with B2B and B2C SEO is that with B2C SEO, you're talking to a human that's probably spending somebody else's money, and that's a big thing. So psychologically, even though the traffic might be far less, the monetary value of the order might be far more significant, but the psychological side of the transaction is even bigger, because you've got, say you're speaking to a purchase manager or any manager whatsoever, and they're making a purchase decision. If they're going to spend 20,000, 10,000, 30,000, millions of office budget or company budget on a purchase, they're going to need to make damn sure that you are the right company for them, because they're putting their neck on the line and maybe even their job on the line. And I think it was the old saying, nobody ever got fired for buying an IBM, I think it was years ago, that was the safety net. And realistically, B2C SEO is requires people to give far more for far less. So as an SEO budget in B2C SEO, you're not talking about buying t-shirts generally or things like that. You the purchase decisions probably have a far longer path. You have to give far more out generously, because you're actually trying to convince somebody. And also, it's a little bit of an element of costly signaling there, in terms of when you're throwing that stuff out there, that somebody else will have a review of that, just to make sure that original person's decision is right, usually. So, if someone's got to sign off on something, they'll go and have a look at the website. If the manager says, this is the company I want, company A, the company owner or whoever signs the purse strings then goes and reviews company A, has a quick flip through the website, it's got to be enough to make sure that they look like the experts that they are. So there's a lot of psychological aspects of B2C SEO which go unrecognized, because of that purchase decision is different. So from a strategy point of view, it's obviously very dependent on clients. But if you're looking at a B2C business, you're actually looking at a far more luxurious, far more educational content process. And that's really along the lines that you're looking at, in terms of, if it's a 5-page website with a terrible blog, it's not really going to stand out well, and that's certainly my experience. And even my experience of buying from other businesses, that it's a risk. It comes at a risk to you, especially even if you're the business owner, there's a risk to your money. So you've got to put out a lot of effort, and I think that's the key with the strategy. Put out considerable amounts of effort, far more than would be logical, to create a powerful message.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Like, speaking to humans, at the end of the day, it's still a human, whether they're B2C or B2B, it's still a person that you're speaking to. But with the B2B side, it's probably a lot more people than you're probably speaking to on the B2C side. So yeah, that's a really good point. And then in terms of like the signals that you're looking for when you're appraising like a new client from an SEO perspective, what shows strengths and what shows weaknesses in terms of SEO?
I mean, obviously, authority. I'm not a big fan of the tool scores on authority and things like that because they're more of a guide. So I think there isn't anything you're looking for. I personally look for signals of areas of deficiency in relation to their competitors. So if we're, for example, if you're going to a keyword and I've just done something with a client just where their domain authority is nowhere near, it's not even on the pitch, clearly that's the problem, because it doesn't matter what way you look at it, they just haven't got enough links coming into the site. They're just not touching enough places digitally to make a dent into things. So that's obviously an area you're looking at. So you do the basics, keyword numbers, keyword reach, domain authority. Those are the kind of signals. But more so, you're looking at the quality of the experience of the website, what kind of impact that looks at, what's the content like. Is the content educational? Is it authoritative? Is it useful? And those are the things that you're looking at. Is the site trustworthy? Are there trust signals? Have people reviewed the site? Have they got testimonials? Is there case studies? All those kind of things is I'm looking at more than the scores as well, because traffic is another one as well. It's a thing where obviously websites need traffic to survive. However, you're going to get that. But I personally look beyond all the tool scores. I'm looking more depth to that. So the tool scores that, Hrefs or SEMrush, they're there really as to help make the detective's life easier. And as an SEO, your job is to investigate. And investigative SEO is going to dive into a website and start to look for those clues. The tools give some clues or some pointers, and then you go in and have a proper look. And that's how I would review that.
Yeah, I love that little police reference there. It's nice.
I do a few occasionally.
It sounds like you've got a really robust auditing process at Embryo, which is obviously very important when it comes to new clients. So say you're looking at a new B2B client, in regards to SEO, where does the priority lie? Is it all about quantity or quality?
Whatever you're doing has got to be quality. Traffic wise, I think is an interesting one, because it depends on your organization of whether you're going to go to a small finite group of people, or whether you're going to go to a bigger, broader group of people. And that just, boardroom content that's just there for 10 people to read is incredibly powerful, effective, because if those 10 people have got money to spend, make decisions. But if you want to get people on perhaps a new software or anything like that, then you need more volume. So, but everything's got to be quality. If you're pumping out a high quantity that's not quality, I'd argue that you're wasting people's time, and people are really unforgiving. But the countenance to that is content marketing can be done on volume with lower quality pieces, or even smaller pieces on volume. LinkedIn is essentially a high volume platform where people are publishing daily, and it's some of that's questionable and some of that's good. it depends on your view.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it, isn't there, really? Who you're targeting, where do they reside? The topper CEOs probably aren't searching on Google for certain things. You might be reaching them on LinkedIn. So it's about getting that content in the right place for the right person. So
yeah. Indeed. And also, I don't think we should lose the fact around, getting into a business is quite an interesting thing. Is some of the best content I get is sent to me by colleagues via email or on Slack or WhatsApp.
Do you think that the fluffy content still has a role to play in SEO strategy?
I mean, when I think about fluffy, there's a couple of content types which I think are gaining some kind of, or often talk about. So you've got fluff as in word count fluff, which generally happens when you get a writer that's not well versed in the topic. So I think that kind of fluff content is dead and buried now, in terms of if you're producing that kind of fluff, if you're asking writers as word count's a good guide, but if you're asking writers and you're judging them, based on word count, you're looking for meaningful words in that, and not fluff. If you're on that game, it's dead. I think you're on a hiding to nothing and wasting money, probably harming your site. The other side of things is fluff in terms of it's fluffy as in the subject, which also comes from a lack of knowledge from the writers or the person, where they really don't have that in-depth knowledge and expertise to be able to carry out that piece. So they end up doing surface level research and then producing a fluffy piece of content, which again just looks regurgitated, and it's regurgitation of the search results. So I think that content, which is vague in actual how, is also on its way out, but not as quick, because ultimately, it is still useful, even if it's vague. It's useful to a certain degree, but I think we're in the business now of content's got to go up in quality massively.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then moving on from that, so one thing that I'm always very aware of is the customer journey and the role that plays, particularly when you're starting an SEO strategy either from scratch or starting over. For you, why is the customer journey so important to consider when looking at an SEO strategy?
It's actually a really good question from the customer journey. It is a very interesting question. It's something that I'm talking about quite a lot at the moment, because essentially marketing, as SEOs, we're really poor marketers. A lot of SEOs don't understand marketing in the slightest. But when we look at the broad subject of marketing, people buy when they are ready to buy. Mm-hmm. And the job of a business is to create what they call mental availability. And the mental availability is basically to be thought of in as many buying situations as possible, and also to create purchase availability, to be able to be there when somebody purchases or wants to purchase. So trying to map that customer journey is really hard for anybody. But so I think from an SEO perspective, you've got to look at being as helpful as possible and as generous as possible and as empathetic as possible to the people you want to reach and the people you want to serve. So from a customer journey, it's from a website and SEO perspective, it's how can we help the people we want to serve, rather than necessarily how can we convince them to buy as quick as possible. If we concentrate on building websites that matter, and that's what companies want to do, the ROI will come at some point financially. You might not be able to track it particularly well, but the fact is that SEO should be viewed as part of your brand budget. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the cost of telling the story of your business to everybody in the world. It's not your direct advertising budget. And so you should set your SEO budget and spend it all, and then measure the results and look at how the measurement is. It's a big danger where we measure it like direct advertising, looking for direct ROI. And that's where a lot of people, I think, fail. And there's a lot of dead, perfectly, very, very, very good SEO contracts and SEO people that have lost clients, or the clients walked away when they were doing fantastic work, and the clients mistakenly judging it as direct advertising and not brand marketing.
Yeah, and I think that again touched on an important point, that SEO is a long game. You're not going to see it straight away just from a technical perspective anyway, but from a long-term brand building point of view as well, it is going to take a long time, isn't it? So
it can, in every business, it's as long as you want your business to be in business for. SEO is an investment that your future self or your future business is going to thank you for starting today. Yeah. And there's no point it off. And ad costs are rising. The cost of everything is rising. The fact is, if you have a brand, you're in the game. It's capitalism made easy. That's why I heard a quote the other day. SEO helps to build your brand, and that's what it's for. If you can build your brand, then you will be able to charge higher prices because your brand is more effective. So SEO is totally, massively important to businesses, mostly ignored. But in essence, that's why I think we're going to grow as an industry, because more people are going to come to SEO because they'll realize its power.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's everything from me. So thank you so much for getting involved. Nice little insight to SEO in the B2B world. So yeah, thank you very much.